I want to welcome everyone to our webinar this morning, or this morning here in California, obviously afternoon other places. Quickly, before I introduce our topic and speaker, I wanted to make sure everyone knew about some programs we have coming up in the not too distant future. We are going to host a virtual panel via this same platform. We'll have an online panel on July 23rd that will be a discussion of shale in Mexico, and we're calling it Separating Fact from Fiction, and we are going to have 2 or 3 panelists, and we're going to look at some of the stories that have been percolating lately about all the issues facing what many consider one of the world's most important shale resources in Mexico and the development of that resource. August 26th, we are delighted to be organizing it together with the Ministry of Energy and Mines in Peru a program in Lima to take some of these same issues that Emilio will share with us today and talk about them even further. Where does Peru go from now in terms of Camisea's development, but more broadly in terms of its energy sector, in terms of its upstream development, in terms of its infrastructure. So August 26th in Lima, we will be organizing a half-day roundtable to further assess some of the topics that, like I said, Emilio will get into this morning. Finally, September 9th, we are organizing a program in Bogota, Colombia. So those are the programs we have on the horizon. But today, we're very pleased to have Emilio Weber from Pluspetrol, who, as many of you, I'm sure, participating today know, Pluspetrol is the company, the Argentine company that is the operator of the Camisea project. And I don't want to get into too much of this presentation, but I think it's important to, as we consider the historical moment that Camisea is celebrating this year, but specifically in August, the 10th anniversary of natural gas production and natural gas reaching Lima, it's important to actually step back and understand that the Camisea project began over 30 years ago when Shell discovered it. And so I think it's interesting when we consider how long this project took to develop, but how important the last 15 or so years have been for the project, and especially for Peru since gas began arriving in Lima. There are all kinds of issues that Pluspetrol and the consortium dealt with in bringing this project to fruition. I know Emilio is going to talk about a lot of that. Let me just wrap up by noting how much this project in natural gas has changed Peru's energy matrix. And I think the one statistic that jumps out is that today, in just 10 years' time, now natural gas is accounting for 50% of power generation in Peru. So 0 to 50 in 10 years. And Emilio will fill in a lot of these details. So without any further ado, let me hand it over to our guest and our speaker today, Emilio Weber, who's the new business development manager for Latin America at Pluspetrol. And previous to that, Emilio has worked for a while at the Argentine firm YPF, but I first got to know Emilio when he was working at Petrobras. So it's great to be back in touch now that he's at Pluspetrol, and we're delighted to have him presenting today his company's what they've done in terms of Camisea, but more importantly, what Camisea means today and in the future for Peru. So Emilio, thanks again, and over to you.
Thank you, Jeremy, for the presentation. I'm glad to be here for the audience we have, and of course, I will introduce what is Camisea right now and what we are as Pluspetrol. Can you hear me well there in the other part?
Yes. Sounds just
Alexis.
fine.
Perfect. So thank you again for the opportunity to present here what here in Camisea, what happened, what we have in Camisea and how, what is Pluspetrol. For this presentation, I would like to cover the following items. I would like to start by presenting our company, our operation to all of you, and how Pluspetrol encouraged in taking the challenge of develop Camisea. Then I will move on to Camisea and its development during the last 10 years, which has been its glory year since it was first explored in the 80s. Then, using some key figures, I will show you the benefit that Camisea has brought for Peru up to this date. And then we will move into Peru's current gas situation and how the demand market stands. And finally, our conclusions. Just begin. Pluspetrol, a private E&P company which started our operation in Neuquén Basin in the south of Argentina back in the 70s and soon became one of the major oil and gas producers in Argentina. But we didn't stop there and soon moved into Peru in the late 90s. It was a part of our strategy with two operations, Block 8 and Block 1AB, that we are currently have in the middle of the Amazonian jungle in the north of Peru. Our experience in Peru and Argentina has helped us to become a specialist operating high-pressure gas fields and reactivating marginal fields in remote areas. That's encouraged us to develop Camisea. This has helped us triple our proven reserves in few years. And our recent activities has been focusing on diversifying our assets and move into a more international market as Africa right now, Angola, where we are. We have also become a major unconventional player in Argentina to the recent boom in Vaca Muerta with more than 350,000 net acreage, one of the biggest acreage we have in Argentina. We are one of the most important players in the non-conventional here in Argentina. The success has been due to the following strategy that we are right now. Exploration-led strategy. We build a balanced portfolio with high impact prospects. For example, although we have already Camisea, we believe in exploration in Peru. We have participation in two important blocks, the 108 in the north of Camisea, with very important resources. We are doing the seismic this year after a few years of force majeure. And then the 76 in the south of Camisea with Hunt as operator and Repsol as a partner. We also focus on sustainable growth with appraisals and early commerciality. We believe in the partnering, and with strategic partners, we develop all our projects with partners. We believe and we create long-term relationships. Execution, a great plan. Thanks to experienced leadership and technical team, we are very efficient in sensitive operation, as you can saw in Camisea and in the north of Peru. Capability to handle social, environmental complex and logistical complexity. We will see that Camisea was a very huge challenge in the logistical point of view. This is a summary of Pluspetrol and our partners and also our reserves. This gave us the magnitude of Pluspetrol, how we are. We operate more than 400 million barrels equivalent per day, and we have reserved more than 1 billion of barrels oil equivalent. They are mainly gas, 70% of gas. As you can see, Pluspetrol became very well succeeded, became the challenge we assume, as for example, as I will present Camisea was the challenge. So, talking about Camisea, I would like to, as Jeremy told you, Camisea was first discovered in the 1983 after Shell signed an exploration contract with Peru government in 1980. Shell joined Mobil in the 86 to come up with a development plan, but at the end they leave the block in 1998. Pluspetrol lead the consortium as operator to send the best bid for Peru's Camisea offering, and in 2000 Camisea was awarded to Pluspetrol. Straight after, work started to develop Camisea in the most timely efficiency was. We actually produce more than 1.8 billion of cubic feet per day, and we of those we reinjected almost 500 million of cubic feet per day. Camisea now represents 95% of all the natural gas and natural gas liquid gas extracted in Peru. So it's the most important asset in an energetic asset in Peru. While it helps with more than 50% electricity generated in Peru, and all the residential and industrial gas in Lima. The current reserves are, as shown, more than 13 TCF and more than 700 million of liquids in both blocks. The Camisea, as we talk, many people they don't know, but we talk Camisea. There are two blocks, the 88 and the 56. They call Camisea, and the consortium partner are Hunt, Sonatrach, Repsol, Petrol, SK, and we as Pluspetrol with the 27.2% of the block. In this slide, you can see the magnitude of the work that had to be done to reach this point where Camisea is as today. The challenge of Camisea was basically the logistic complexity, with more than 700,000 tons of material through rivers, sea, helicopters. It's what was very encouraged. Another challenge is the environmental impacts. Our goal was to reduce the impact to the minimum area. We use only 0.07% of the total area of the block. The community was another challenge in order to talk and explain the benefit of the project to all the communities. We attendance of more than 12,000 individuals during the jungle consultation meetings. A lot of people working on that. In these photos, help you to see how was Camisea when we arrived to the area and how it stands today. As you can see, we had a lot works. We did a lot of work for constructing Malvinas plant as of today. The other the other part, the photos below are San Martin well, and right now as you can see. The next two slides are designed to show the positive impacts that Camisea has in general on Peru's economic growth. We have taken the following indicators: energy efficiency and diversification. More than 25,000 million of dollars saved by using natural gas, mainly in the power generation. More in the power generation was around 19,000 million of dollars. In the past, they used liquid instead natural gas. The gas from Camisea changed the energy matrix, reducing the oil consumption. And talking about trade balance impact, without a Camisea, the hydrocarbon trade balance on Peru has been negative, meaning importing an average of 150 million barrels per day during the period of 2004 and 2014. That's saved a lot of dollars for the country. Thanks Camisea, more than 13,000 of million of dollars was invested. Directly 3,800 million of dollars and more than 10,000 million of dollars in related projects. As we can see here, we have a Peru LNG, TGP pipeline, and electrical power plants. Apart from the current investment of $13 billion, we estimate investment more than $5 billion over the next few years in projects such as TGP capacity expansion, Gasoducto del Sur, and new thermal units. As you know, the Gasoducto del Sur was built, and of course the investment that they are going to invest is quite important. It's very important. Camisea contribute with a total accumulated royalties of 6.2 billion between 2004 and 2013. The investment, the royalties contributes in the Peruvian GDP. In the future, we can see the demand almost will be the double in electrical and distribution in almost 10 years. So we have room to monetize our reserve. This is one of our main conclusions here, and how we see the market in Peru, and so I would like to talk about the conclusion here and our main idea. And finally, you can see that in a Peruvian context as today, that on the upstream side, it has all the necessary tools it needs to produce at full capacity. We have the reserves and resources, technology, and upstream infrastructure needed to develop these reserves. Considering all the blocks in the region near Camisea, we have more than 20 TCF in reserves. Further projects are coming online, expand this transport capacity like TGP and the construction of Gasoducto del Sur. The local demand stands high, so the only missing part from the puzzle is the fact that more infrastructure in the demand part should be done in order to have real demand and not only contracts to move our reserves. So Camisea was the first important step in a very promising future in Peru. Thank you very much. The question here, until when is Peru expected to reinject gas to produce LNG? 2027 or longer than that? Look, this will depend on the demand, basically, because we, of course, we prefer to sell gas, okay, instead of reinjecting gas. So one of the main ideas of our presentation here is that we right now we have the reserves. We are the government is planning to develop all the pipeline as we saw the building of the Gasoducto del Sur. So right now the challenge of Peru is the demand, create the demand, where the natural gas from Camisea and nearby, where to the south, which will be the real demand in the south of Peru. Okay, and of course, having that demand, we won't needed to reject the gas. So basically, your question is, we are waiting the demand. Okay, all the factors and the variables are there. So the demand is the who who order the reserves and the production. I don't know if the question was answered.
Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. Alexis is trying to. Sincere apologies. For some reason today we've got a variety of technical issues, so she's trying to work the back end here. Sorry for the delay there, Emilio. There are some more questions. We'll move ahead and pose these questions to Emilio. I will do my best to moderate here. Emilio, there's another question here that gets into the question of exportation, and there's a question specifically about further plans for liquefied natural gas exports. But I think the way the question is posited is, what does that do, though, in terms of some of what you talked about in terms of the local demand challenges? So if you could talk a little bit about the LNG export piece vis-a-vis what you talked about in terms of the spike in local demand, domestic demand.
Look, the demand is there. Okay, the demand in Peru is there, and as you can as we can saw in the past, from, as you mentioned, that from zero it grows many million cubic feet per day. Okay, in the local demand. So the local demand in Peru is there and will be high. Okay, in the future. So the challenge in Peru is about creating demand. For example, more thermal units. Okay, more more to incentivize the expansion of the pipeline, for example, TGP. Okay, and of course they should be for example, there is enough gas in Peru for the local demand. Enough gas. Okay. The thing here is the petrochemical. There are many industries that the government or even the market can incentivize to be installed in Peru. So, in my opinion, gas we are reserving gas for the local demand, the local demand, and should be done investment in the demand part. In the logistic should be done very in the near future. We have the reserves, and that's it. I don't know, Jeremy, if I answered your question, but I think there's a lot of potential in Peru to create local demand. And about
no, in fact, I think.
I don't know.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And about exportation, the exportation should be done in terms of Peru having enough gas for the local demand. That's really true. Okay, and I don't know. We don't see any future exportation projects right now in the same kind. Okay, probably we can if you talk to me, probably on thermal unit exporting electricity, maybe something like that in the south of Peru could be. I don't know.
Let me no, thank you. Let me let me follow up on, because I think this is something to clarify here. Earlier you talked about the two different blocks that make up Camisea, and in the last several years there's been lots of debate in Peru over attending the local market, the domestic demand that you talked about, and the export market. And so here's a question that maybe if you could explain a little bit about how that works, between the two blocks in terms of domestic and the LNG, Peru LNG and the export market. There's a specific question that I'll drag onto the screen here that that gets this point. So just we'll leave after, we'll move on after this. But if you could just finalize by helping us understand how the project is broken up in terms of domestic and exports.
Yeah, the 88 block is designated to domestic market, okay, the 88, and the 57 to export market, okay, 56, sorry, 56, the export market, okay, that's the differentiation here, okay, 88 domestic and 56 export market.
Perfect.
I don't know
Perfect.
if that was the question.
No, I think that helps to the, you know, there's a question about the exportation, and I think there's a couple of very specific questions here, but let me begin with a more general question that hopefully you can get into. It's more of a energy policy question, but let me put it on the screen. It's about the matrix, and give us your thoughts here in as much as you can as to the diversification of the energy matrix. What do you know from your position in Peru about the implementation and development of solar and wind resources for the energy matrix?
Look, mainly if you see the matrix change during the years, okay. For example, in the oil in 1972, okay, the oil in the matrix represent 73% of the matrix, okay. Nowadays represent almost 43% of the market, of the matrix. So it changed a lot, and of course, and the natural gas was almost 31%, and the other is hydro, okay. The other part of the matrix was hydro. Hydro is an important part of the matrix, but the thing here, the conclusion of a matrix, of course, we have solar that is not significant as wind. Of course, Peru must develop all of these alternative energies, but having natural gas, one of the main resources, of course, they should Peru should more develop the natural gas, and of course, in parallel, the solar and the wind. But plus, we are not involved in the solar and wind, so I cannot tell you details about that. Okay, but talking about matrix energy, saved a lot of dollars for Peru. Okay, instead of consuming oil, remember that Peru is an importing oil country. Okay? It replaced with natural gas. So all that dollars that Peru should be paid to foreigners stayed in Peru.
No, your statistics in your slides were quite impressive in terms of the trade balance with and without Camisea. Let's, sorry to keep on this, but there's an interesting question about exportation, but exports of electricity, not necessarily gas. Again, I know this is a little bit outside of your and Plus Patrol's direct area of operation and work, but any comment on the potential for exportation of electricity? Um, Obviously, the question here is whether it be gas-fired or any thoughts on electricity exports from Peru?
Yes, of course. In my opinion, if electricity is an aggregated value, okay? So you can aggregate value in Peru, okay, and selling natural gas with aggregated value. So, of course, maybe could be because we, the thing here is you have the Gasoducto del Sur, okay, Gasoducto del Sur that is bidded
Mm-hmm.
and will be constructed in the future. Of course, it's a reality in 3 years, 4 years from now.
Okay.
And now they should be thinking uh, how will be the demand, okay? Because that pipeline should be paid, should transport natural gas, so and should be amortized, not only with a small thermal unit at the end of the pipeline. You need a big, the biggest thermal unit at the end of the pipeline. Okay, so Chile is a potential market and, and and a supplier, and they need supply of power generation. They have a lot of mining in the south of Chile that need to to energy. So probably the government and the market realize that a bigger plant should be constructed in the south of Peru, okay, um, giving energy for Peru and also for Chile.
Oh, it's interesting because one of the things I wanted to ask you about was whether the Gasoducto del Sur opens up a new potential for exportation of natural gas to Chile and the mining region of the northern part of Chile. But you answered the question already by noting sort of the power side of it. So I'll just take the moderator's prerogative and say, following up on this question on the screen, what's more likely in terms of once Gasoducto del Sur comes online? Is it more likely that there'll be exportation of electricity to northern Chile or natural gas?
Look, this will depend on the government. This is a actual political energy of the country.
Yeah.
But if you Chile needs both natural gas and electricity, okay, and maybe thinking out of the box, okay, thinking out of the box. You can put natural gas even in Argentina, the Peruvian natural gas in Argentina. If you do that, you have two empty pipelines in Argentina, Chile. So it's very easy to give natural gas to Argentina. So depend on really, Jeremy, depend on the governments and depend how they wants to be in the market and how it's not depend on the market because it would depend on the market. For sure, Argentina would be with Peruvian natural gas, Chile too, electricity selling, petrochemical. So the first step was done and it was very good, the Gasoducto del Sur. Okay? And now is creating demand. The demand was the future challenge in Peru.
Excellent. And in fact, the Gasoducto del Sur, it's good to hear from you that 3 to 4 year timeline. And there's another question that you began to reference, but let's put it on the screen because it's a nice follow up to what we've been talking about here in terms of demand generation and of use of gas, monetization of the gas. Could you comment on the Polo Petroquímico and what's the latest on that? And is that still something that's being planned for construction? In as much as you know.
I really, Jeremy, I don't know.
Okay.
If, I don't know about how is it the Polo Petroquímico. Polo Petroquímico, as you know, the Polo Petroquímico consume ethane. Okay, natural gas also consumed for the gas-fired plants that they have, but mainly they consume electricity, okay, ethane and natural gas, and mainly ethane, okay. So it would be constructing another pipeline for ethane or something like that. Mm? So I don't know how the Polo Petroquímico, okay, but should be in terms of steps. How we see the Polo Petroquímico. First, the pipeline.
Right.
In parallel, the electricity, and then the Polo Petroquímico, and also the ethane. You should have an answer about the ethane, if you are going to take out the ethane in hilo or going a pipeline. But really, I don't know, Jeremy, about the
Okay.
Polo Petroquímico.
No, no, thank you for giving us a little bit. There's getting back to some of the allocation and the blocks and how you know the different blocks that could make up the Camisea project. There's a question specifically here about uh, how you will. I'm trying to put it on the screen here. If I can get it there. There it is. Will any block 88 gas be used for export if block 56 is depleted? So this is a continuation of some of the things we were talking about earlier in terms of usage of the two blocks for domestic and export markets. How do you talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, that's something that the 88 is for domestic market. Okay, we won't use for exportation. Okay, that's something that is very clear for us, and that's it. So 88 local market and enough gas for Peru. That's something that's very clear for Plus Petrol and all our partners.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, let me follow that up with another question that gets to the upstream. We talked, you know, you commented a little bit about some of the upstream developments. Obviously, we've talked mainly here about the project that you all are operating and have been delivering gas for 10 years. There are some issues in Peru in terms of the upstream with regards to permitting, to working through some of the environmental. There's the prior consultation law that's in place, but there's also this, and I forget the number, but there's some ridiculous number of projects that are in force majeure right now. And I think I heard you during the presentation mention that you've come out of force majeure with one of your projects. Talk a little bit about upstream development. How are you navigating? How is Plus Patrol navigating the issues we've been hearing about in terms of permitting? How do you know, develop a project or get out of the force majeure stage so that the project can be developed? Any insights on those questions would be great.
Yeah, the permitting issues in Peru is an issue. It's a very important issue. I remember the presentation of the CEO of Cantierra talking about the difference between Colombia and Peru, and how the projects takes in Peru rather than Colombia. And that was one issue of why Peru didn't develop as faster as Colombia, because of the permissions, the environmental permission that here in Peru takes a lot of time. Right now, that is changing. That's really true. That's changing. The permissions take not take less than the past, but it takes a long time. How we manage as Plus Petrol? We have a very qualified group working on that.
Why don't we just move ahead? We've got a couple final questions here.
Okay.
You were talking about the permitting process.
Okay.
So
No,
I don't know if there's any final, yeah.
Just finishing the idea, our experience in Camisea gave us all the knowledge of how to handle all the permitting. The operation in the north of Peru also, and working very nearby with the government in all the permitting.
Excellent. Well, I think this is obviously the force majeure and the upstream development are issues that the relatively new minister is taking on, and we have to believe is something that's foremost on the agenda of the government, because a lot of what you talked about in terms of the royalties and the financial benefits accruing to the nation obviously are not going to happen as long as these projects are stuck and not able to be developed. Let's wrap up with a question here, Emilio. That's actually, there's two more. Let me put the first one up. This one we'll go back to our conversation on the blocks 88 and 56, and there's some questions here for you to talk a little bit more about how you are in terms of exploratory plans for replenishment of the 2P shown in blocks 88 and 56.
I want to understand very well the question, sorry.
Yeah, can you see I put this question on the screen. What are Plus Petrol drilling exploratory plans to replenish reserves beyond the 2P shown before in blocks 88 and 56? I think the question is referencing some of the statistics you put on one of your slides in terms of the reserve estimates for blocks 88 and 56. Could you talk a little bit about what you've done to further assess some of those reserves?
Yeah, we are planning to continue exploring the full exploration plan in Camisea, okay, to in order to develop the 2Ps, and we of course that give us not only the exploration phase, but also we are thinking probably depend on the demand, depend on the exploration plan, and the third stage plant, expansion plant in Camisea, depend on many things, okay? But the drilling exploration plans established in one well in the next year. Okay, we have one well exploratory plan, and we are discussing with our partner the following steps. We have a full development plan and full exploration plan in Camisea, and as Plus Petrol, we are in terms of exploration. Not only Camisea, we are exploring as I mentioned, in the 76 block with Hunt and Repsol. We are planning Repsol Hunt is planning to drill the first well, exploration well, at the beginning of the next year. And we are doing the seismic in the 108. It's a huge block. We are with Woodside. So we are doing a lot of things in terms of explorations.
Excellent. No, thank you. I think that's definitely some clarification or some additional information, I should say. Emilio, there's a final question I'm going to drag onto the screen, and it has to do with generation of electricity. And I'm going to put the question on the screen, and hopefully we'll be able to, hopefully you'll be able to understand the question and add some information here. If you can read it as well, it says any regulatory constraints for megawatt electricity, natural gas liquids, or natural gas can generate due to limitation of the existing infrastructure capabilities. I'll let you, I don't know if I can completely interpret what the question is here, but hopefully you can talk a little bit about some of the electric generation issues. I think you talked about some of the infrastructure constraints. So any final comments in terms of what Peru needs to do in terms of its energy matrix, in terms of natural gas, getting it to market, furthering the capabilities to reach the power demand, sort of final conclusions as you answer this question would be great.
I don't know any regulatory reconstruction for generating electricity from liquid or natural gas. Okay, so because they are doing right now in Peru, so I don't know really was the question, but I don't know any restriction of doing that.
Okay.
So in terms of conclusion about the local demand, in my opinion, the government is doing a great job, a great work doing that about the incentivizing the natural gas in the local demand. They increase the vehicles, the natural gas vehicles, in a lot. If you go to Lima, there's a lot of cars running with natural gas. They are changing the energy matrix to natural gas. So what they should be done, and they did a good they gave us a good sign about that, is Gasoducto del Sur. Okay, right. They built the Gasoducto del Sur, so they are very committed in the logistic point of view. Okay, so they right now, talking to the market, is a good period in time in Peru to enter to local market in order to increase the demand. So Peru is, and we as a producer, we have the gas. The government is doing their best in the logistical point of view. So the market right now should be react on that, and should invest in thermal units, petrochemical industries. I don't know, many industries that consume natural gas.
Perfect. No, and that's the perfect segue. Thank you so much, Emilio. Perfect segue for me to remind everyone that we will be furthering this conversation in a half-day discussion in Lima on August 26th, talking about many of these issues. Gasoducto del Sur. What are some of the developments in that area of the country? The massification of gas, as it's been called. Emilio Weber, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time this morning. We appreciate everyone's participation. I want to also, again, recognize our two sponsors of the 2014 Iowa Energy Webinar Series, Bates White and Intercap Energy Systems. We appreciate their support of this. And finally, we're going to be back online here on July 23rd discussing the shale potential in Mexico and some of the issues facing development of shale. So Emilio, thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in Lima or Buenos Aires very soon.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Thank you all, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you.
Wonderful, wonderful. And we will send out, Alexis will be sending out a link of the recording of this as well. I neglected to mention that. So for everyone who was asking those questions, we will indeed be putting out this presentation and recording to you via email. So again, thanks everyone. We appreciate your time today, and we'll be seeing you and talking online again soon.